What is up, everyone? I think we just about have everyone joining us here. Um, for some reason, I can't hear on my audio. I'm not hearing the music anymore. Just somebody who's up here speaking. Can somebody speak just to make sure I can hear you guys?
Hey guys, can you
Oh,
hear me?
Soundtrack, soundtrack.
okay. Can you guys hear me as well?
Yes, we can.
Beautiful.
5 by 5.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining us, and welcome to the Hideout number 47. So we've been running a lot of these. We're getting real close to number 50 here, which we have something very special planned for in a couple weeks. But we have an incredible panel today. We are joined by Arcadia, DQuest, Inside Dark Studio, and Metalcore. Thanks for joining us, Metalcore. I didn't think you guys were going to be able to make it. So really excited to have some really awesome projects that are building big things in the Web3 gaming space today. And then just a heads up that Mariano from Inside Dark Studios will be joining us probably about 15 minutes late today. We're going to be doing something a little bit different. So normally our founder, Nick, is on the Satoshiverse account, but he was getting some surgery today, so he won't be able to make it. So I'm taking over on the account for today, and then our community manager, Lau, will be asking the questions today from the Apollo account. So just to do a quick intro on myself and the project. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Spencer Vogel. I'm the business development manager for Apollo Entertainment, which is the company behind Satoshiverse and the Satoshi's Legions game. I've been working with the team for about 2.5 years now, and I've been involved with the NFT and Web3 gaming space since around 2018. Previous background in tech strategy consulting. And then I'm also co-host of the Comics and Crypto podcast, which is a podcast where we talk all about investing in the collectible space, both digital and physical. So for those of you that don't know about the Satoshiverse, it's a blockchain-based superhero universe that we started back in 2020. As part of the Satoshiverse, we have two game-enabled collections, avatar collections, as well as a ton of original comic art, which was created in collaboration with Jose Delbo, who's a former Marvel and DC comic book artist, and is also our founder, Nick's grandfather. And then we also have the Satoshi's Legions game, which is a fast-paced first-person hack and slash PC game. Various parts of the game are blockchain enabled, such as item ownership and avatar progression. And our avatar collections are built in Unreal Engine and are fully rigged to be played in the game currently. The game is currently in testnet alpha and is currently open for anybody to play. Don't currently need an NFT to play the game. All you have to do is visit our website and download the game and check it out. And also, if you take a look at our pin tweet above, you can see that we have a bunch of cool prizes right now for people who are testing the game out for us. So yeah, check that out and jump in and play the game if you get a chance. Don't want to spend a whole lot more time talking about Satoshiverse because we have some great panelists up here, and I want to introduce all of them. And then also before we get into introductions here, if any of the projects here, if you guys have any kind of tweet that you want to pin to the top here and share anything about your project, feel free to pin it to the top at any time. But yeah, let's get into introductions. So maybe first, Chase from Arcadia, can you give us a quick intro of yourself and what you guys are building with Arcadia?
Fantastic. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Hello, everyone. My name is Chase. I'm the CEO and co-founder of OP Games, creator of Arcadia. We started this back in late 2017, early 2018. As for myself, I've been in the gaming space for the last 15 years, mostly as a game publisher and investor. I was working on a couple of PC and mobile titles in the past, and most of them are usually work that I do along with game developers that I publish. And so kind of like after 2017, 2018, when I met my co-founders a few years back, we were like, you know what, we can do something in Web3. We don't know just yet what it is, but we started off building tooling for developers to easily create NFTs. And then eventually it evolved into creating a platform called Arcadia, where we host a multitude of independent game developers with their casual, hyper casual games. At some point, we are expanding into a more mid-core to hardcore games as well. But for now, it's more of like in the realm of casual, hyper casual, just because our main demographic are indie game developers who are building mostly on the web in general. Apart from that, we're currently working with a couple of co-collaborators, including Future Primitive. Some of them were creators of CryptoKitties in the past, if you guys remember that. We're building on a new standard called ERC6551, which is kind of like a more supercharged NFT. I'm happy to be here, and thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And then up next, we have, I think it's Justin on the Metalcore account. Can you give us a quick intro?
Yeah, outstanding. And of course, thanks for having us on. Really appreciate it. It's always cool to see new opportunities of education in this space. You know, there's definitely some education needed, and I've definitely met a lot of people who appreciate the work that you're doing, as well as others in the space. My name is Jay, and I'm on the marketing team for Metalcore, developed by Studio 369. We've been working on a futuristic combined arms shooter for PC, developed using the Unreal Engine and available in closed beta on Epic Game Store. And this game is it's just a vast experience, including PvE, looting and crafting, as well as PvP, high octane action with various vehicle types, including mechs, aircraft, and tanks, as well as dozens of infantry classes available. And on this futuristic planet, you'll scour for resources, join up with other groups, including players that came before you that may have equipment that you can use, form baronies, and then you are also participating in faction-based territorial warfare, where you'll join one of three factions as you fight for dominance over the planet's surface. And we're also currently the holder of the 2022 Game 3 Awards Best Shooter Award from Games.gg. And nominations are calculating now for the 2023 season. And we've also attended many different Web2 and Web3 shows, including PAX West, big on gaming on the West Coast, as well as TwitchCon West, and also Comic-Con in San Diego, as well as some Web3 shows, including NFT NYC twice, and the new show that debuted this year that was put on by a Web3 Gamer, and that was taking place in Pasadena. That was a really, really fun show to do. So we're out here, we're talking to gamers, we're building our player base, and you can register for the open beta now at metalcore.gg.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And then our final guest here is Arby from DQuest. Can you give us an intro of yourself as well?
Hey guys, can you hear me clearly?
Can you hear great?
Okay, perfect. Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm RB. I'm the head of strategy at DQuest. We're a reputation-focused gaming platform that provides seamless onboarding, engagement, and distribution for Web3 games. We're currently having monthly DQuest seasons, which are monthly events for our community to discover new games, increase the gamer score, get chest drops, which are going to be for our upcoming token launch. So you can get a head start and actually securing your airdrop for our token. And we promote our partners, their games, social media, and their realms through a variety of activities, including in-game quests or social quests, gaming live streams, live showcases, AMAs, and other events. Right now, we also recently partnered up with Own.gg, and we're going to be their official partner for the upcoming game league. So that's going to be a cool one to keep you guys entertained for a while.
Great. Thank you, Arby. So we're still waiting on Mariano to join us from Inside Dark Studio, and we'll have him give a brief intro of himself a little bit later. But I think we're going to get into the questions now. And just to walk everyone through the format real quick on how things are going to work today, we're going to start out with questions for everyone for the group. Yes, a group discussion question. Lau is going to call on someone to start, and then from there, feel free to just jump in and join the conversation how you see fit. And then we're going to jump into some individual questions for each of our panelists, and then jump to some more questions for the group at the end if we have time. And then for everyone who is here listening right now, we also do a giveaway every single week on our spaces. So we're going to be giving away one of our Satoshiverse collectible trading card NFTs to one of the people who are on the space listening at the end. So make sure you stay on and listen for a chance to win that. So now I'm going to pass it over to Lau. Please introduce yourself and then, get us into the questions.
Hi, everyone. Can everyone hear me?
Can you hear you great?
Awesome. Well, my name is Laura, and I have been working with Apple Entertainment for around 2 years. However, most people know me as the community manager for Satoshiverse, and I am very excited to be here on episode 47 of the Hideout with such amazing people. I know we're gonna have an amazing discussion. So how about we start with the first question? It's an everyone question, and how about Chase starts answering it first? So the first question is, what do you think are some of the best ways to keep Web3 gaming communities engaged, especially during a bear market when market sentiment is low?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question, and one thing which is something Arcadia is also experiencing, right? Like it's always a challenge for everybody, and also depending exactly on whether you've raised funding over the last couple of years or months, also changes the way you also engage, right? But the only thing that is probably free to do, whether it's a bear market or a bull market, is to really create engaging content, whether that's existing content that you have, making sure that you communicate product roadmaps as much as you can, and really ensuring that the community understands exactly what you're building. A lot of times we tend to be more, I would say, build in silence kind of like thing. And the ethos of Web3 is kind of different in such a way where we are always under a magnifying lens when it comes to building, especially for game developers. And so a lot of times I tell people that I advise or people that I work with, specifically game devs as well, that when it comes to community in Web3, it's not the same as like what it is in Web2, where you build first and then you come out of the shadows and then you tell them exactly that you have a beta of something going on and you let them try it, and then you receive feedback, and then you go back to your shell and then build again. With Web3, it's kind of like an ongoing thing where people can see exactly what you're doing, and if you're not being very transparent enough, it could be misconstrued as you either not really caring about the project or abandoning your community in general. So I think some extra level of transparency should be there, and I think that's kind of like the easiest way to start engaging the community and building them as you move along into the bull, when you could finally fundraise and build a bigger, better product that sort of like would overshadow everything else you've done in the past. So that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's definitely a good point. Sorry, just to cut you in. But I think content, yes, content is king. But I think specifically for the gaming space, events are really important. Gamers love to just be participating in tournaments, just gaming, right? That's what gaming is about. And I feel like right now to keep sentiments a bit higher than average, especially in the bear, would just be to keep on doing campaigns and cool tournaments to actually keep them engaged.
Yeah, I definitely second that for sure. Just inviting participation on that level really spikes engagement. And at least on our side here at Metalcore, we have also been running tournaments as well. Like, for example, we did in, I believe it was August, we ran a tournament in partnership with owned.gg, which is a game discovery platform for the Web3 space. And we premiered that tournament live at Gamescom in Germany. And then it was different content creators that were streaming, they were playing the game, they're participating in the tournament. I mean, one angle to definitely look at the question is, when you say community, what does that mean? Because in Web3, you can have very different sub-communities within your overall community, your overall ecosystem. And Web3 participants who might be interested in, asset collections and looking at the markets, things like that, they may not react to the same calls to action as the gamers within your community. So depending on where the development cycle is on a specific game, like if your game is complete enough to play, having things like limited playtests really engage those gamers who will game regardless of market conditions. Like if Bitcoin is low, gamers will game. If Bitcoin is high, gamers will game. So the product really speaks volumes to how well you can maintain the community. And what we've learned is that by focusing on retention most and keeping players coming back to play the game itself really strengthens the core of the community. And then to have that Web3 aspect, to attract other people who are enthusiasts for the brand, enthusiasts for the ecosystem. They might not even have enough hardware to play the game, but they love Metalcore. They love engaging on Discord. They love reacting to social posts, participating in giveaways. We appreciate those members just as much as we appreciate our gamers who are playing the game.
Yeah, just to echo some of the things that people have said here, and just to build on that, yeah, I think especially the point that you made about kind of like building in silence. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a really tough balance of like over promising and under delivering, and so I think a lot of these projects are, they're struggling to reveal too much because they don't want people to get too excited, and they don't want promises to get broken. But like it really is so important to build in public in this space, and I think at this point most community members kind of expect it. So anything you can do to kind of give them a look behind the hood, and actually show them, some of the insights of the actual game development, or just allow them to meet the team and understand the people who are building it. Anything to really kind of like allow them under the hood, I think gets people really excited and allows them to stay engaged. But yeah, things like live streams, tournaments, allowing people to actually play the game. I think that's really, really great for keeping people engaged. And yeah, I'm not sure if anybody's really figured out, totally how to keep people engaged at this time. But I mean, I think there's definitely been, some people or some projects who've done things that we know definitely don't work, like people who are just extracting value from their communities, or diluting their collections through unnecessarily new releases. But yeah, that's just what I wanted to add there.
Yeah, that's an
Thank you so
extremely good
much.
point.
Yeah. All of those have been like amazing points. Um I especially love the part that we asked ourselves, like, what does community mean? Because I think that especially in the Web3 space, it is important to recognize that we have very diverse communities, and not everyone will like all the activities or everything, all the call to actions that we like put out for the community. So I think it is really important to just recognize we have made amazing points about community and how to keep them engaged when the market sentiment is low. Thank you so much for that. Does anyone have anything else they would like
Well,
to add for this
real quick,
question?
I just noticed that Inside Dark Studios here. I just sent you guys an invite to speak if you guys wanna come on up. Awesome. Hey, is that Mariana there?
Hey, thank you for having me.
Hey, yeah, no problem. I was wondering, could you give us a quick intro just on yourself and the project, and then we'll get back into the questions.
Yeah, 100%. I am Stoll. I am from Inside Dark Studio. IDS, how we call it, has been developing games for already 1 year and so. And we pretty much were born in the bear market, survived the bear market by having clients on the Web3 era. And we have success in having 25 projects in total. So our studio is pretty much not only a project, but pretty much a company established, right?
Awesome, thanks. And then we were discussing here basically the best ways to keep Web3 communities engaged, especially during a bear market. We've had some great points here. I don't know if you had anything you wanted to add to that question before we move the discussion along.
Just listen to your community. That's the best thing you can do. Listen to what they want and how they want it.
Awesome. All right, I'll pass it back to you to keep things going.
Awesome. So the next question is for RB. So your question is, what kind of impact do you think partnering with multiple games under one platform has for gamers and the Web3 gaming space as a whole?
I think there's three main points that can be made here. The first point I would say would be access to the games. So having all games under one platform could definitely help with them being more accessible to a larger audience. As we've seen with Steam, like for example, for me, whenever I buy a game on like Uplay or like Epic Games, and if the same game get listed on Steam, because I have that sort of reputation and reputation access and a bigger friend group and bigger social presence on Steam, I have the urge to buy that game again, just so that for that game to be under one platform. So I think there's a very big accessibility factor to having games under one platform. But the second point would be that because we're in the blockchain Web3 space, I think interoperability plays another huge factor. So with the help of crypto and blockchain, hopefully all these games which are under one platform, we can use the items and assets from one game in a different game. So with that, you're creating a interconnected gaming ecosystem. And the third point I would say would be community building. So it would be a lot easier to actually build a community that's centered around one platform rather than to have games spread across different platforms. So if you have another game launching on another platform, it'll be easier for them to actually gain a much larger audience from the get-go.
Thank you so much. I think that's an amazing response to the question. I wholesomely agree with everything that you've said, especially with the accessibility to a larger audience. I think it is really important for us in the Web3 space to think especially about that, about how we can make it accessible for everyone. Because I think that is especially what Web3 is all about, right? Okay, let's go with the next question. The next question is for Chase. So your question is, why do you think Web3 technology is a good fit for hyper-casual gaming? And how do you see the hyper-casual gaming market evolving in the next few years?
That's a really, loaded question in such a way that there's so many things and nuances that we have to understand when it comes to hyper-casual gaming, right? I think like if you go back, I guess like 8-10 years ago, like in terms of like how hyper casual gaming came into evolution, it's really all about the addition of monetization structures around smaller content games, right? Early in the days of discovery platforms like the App Store and the Google Play Store, for example, we had fart apps. Like that's like the very first few apps that showed up in the stores, right? And a lot of people doesn't know exactly how to monetize this, right? And so when the games came in, a lot of the games were mostly mid-core to hardcore because there's in-app purchases involved when it comes to gems or like in-game currencies and stuff like that. But with hyper casual or casual games, a lot of times because the content isn't very deep, there is no emotional attachment for players to buy anything within that specific game. And so when companies like Unity, AppLovin, or Chartboost, these are like third-party advertising networks, were like approaching game developers and asking, hey, can you integrate our SDK so you can start showing ads in your game? This became kind of like the go-to monetization structure of casual and hyper casual games, which essentially is becoming very, very I would say saturated now in the market, right? So a lot of times like hyper casual games would also have like in-app purchase, but it's kind of like 10% of their entire monetization structure. And so a lot of them are kind of like looking into, especially indies, are looking into Web3 to try to identify much better or different monetization structure apart from ads, because there's already a saturation of hyper casual and casual games within the mobile space that they're trying to sort of like be different. They're trying to look for different methods of like how they can actually thrive even further. And that's kind of like what we're really working on with Arcadia. All of the games in Arcadia right now, we have about 60 games in Arcadia, most of which are casual games. All of these games are from our indie game dev partners. And the thing that we're like really trying to accomplish here is like, how can we offer a different solution as far as like how they make money versus what it is in Web2? Because in Web2, a lot of times it's a challenge for them to even make more than like $500 every year for one game. Like what they normally do is to go to multiple hyper casual gaming platforms and license their games in perpetuity for about $200 to $500. And so, which means that their games is fairly limited to whatever the platforms take it for. And so I think Web3 presents a lot of like really new and more nuanced solution in terms of like how these game developers could, number one, increase the amount of content they have on their hyper casual or casual games, but at the same time really build their own community as opposed to just being a developer, creating and training content for huge platforms out there. And that kind of like becomes a chore as opposed to indies that are like, I guess working on Facebook or like working on Google, and then on the weekends they work on their own game because they really want to be game devs, right? But they don't see it as a viable career at this point, so it becomes more of like a product of passion as opposed to like really great games that could become big. And so I think that's kind of like where Web3 comes in. And I think it is collectively something that we have to sort of like figure out, because I think in general, the gaming scene in Web3 lacks a very stable kind of like monetization structure that game developers can follow through without really thinking about like how they can potentially make money in the future.
Nice. I was going to say, I really appreciate what you guys are building. I feel like there's not many games that are building arcade style games or, kind of hyper casual games out there. I feel like most people are building these really big, ambitious games. So it's cool to see a project focusing on something a little bit smaller, which might be a little more accessible to people. And I love that you guys are using Web3 to make it a little bit more of a more lucrative environment for everyone involved, both the players and the developers. It's great.
Thank you so much for that amazing answer, Chase. I know you said it was a loaded question, but I think you explained it very beautifully. So thank you so much for that. Next question is for Mariano. So your question is, Inside Dark Studios is building its game on ICP. What about ICP makes it attractive for Web3 gaming?
Well, when we start talking about Web3, we consider that, all of our games are online at some point, especially because you have transactions going on and everything, right? Most of the games that are out there are based on Amazon servers, right? ICP generally replaces the full stack and welcomes your cloud instead of utilizing Amazon at higher price. You can utilize ICP with your stack for like $5 a year, right? Considering the same aspects on an Amazon machine will cost $120 a year. So, that's one of the main attractives of ICP in general. And obviously you have the decentralization that comes with a blockchain, and you have all the good Web3 aspects, but you have them on a cloud. So that's pretty much the answer. And I know it's very, very simple, but that's how it is, right?
Just as a follow-up, is there anything specific that you guys are doing to benefit from it?
Yeah, we pretty much have most of our games, including the ones we are building on Real Engine, with the backend on ICP, the entire backend. And I mean data servers holding users with NFTs, holding images, holding in-game assets that can be traded between different games. One of the hugest examples that we have is that Reality of Magnus, our main IP, has 7 games in it, right? And they all share assets that are hosted on ICP, right?
Well, thank you so much for that response. Okay, let's move on to Justin's question. So Justin, Metalcore was the first game with active players on the mutable CKEVM testnet. How has going live on, this is a mouthful, CKEVM impacted the player experience of Metalcore, and what benefits do you think the L2 can provide for other games?
Yeah, for sure. An excellent question, actually. And I just pushed onto the Twitter space Jumbotron a recent social post that Immutable made declaring this, along with a video clip featuring Jerry, who's our biz dev lead, talking about this exact question. So very apt that I was posting this right at the time you were asking me the question. Yeah, so we've been recently partnered with Immutable. They've been doing great work partnering with us to help us out with economy design as well as tech integrations. And in recent months, we've been working with them to deploy Metalcore onto the ZK EVM testnet. And currently, we have an NFT collection out now for our infantry units on the Ethereum main network. So that is not on a layer 2, but future drops will happen, and there will be either some kind of bridging or mint and burn for our existing collection as we move into Immutable's ecosystem further. We recently ran a playtest called First Look in September, where we allowed players who owned their NFTs to connect by proxy through the ZK EVM testnet into our game and then deploy the NFTs that they own directly into our game. And with Metalcore having so many different options for infantry classes and different roles, it was really interesting to see that diversity on the battlefield. Now, something that's very important to us, as well as Immutable, is to avoid pay-to-win structures, because it's very easy to go down a pay-to-win path in the mission to provide utility for NFTs and other Web3 assets. So what we do is we basically forged a harmony between the Web3 tech, which does offer real utility. If you have an NFT of a sniper, you have that sniper in the game, and you can use that sniper's weapons and abilities and so on. We married that with our looting and crafting system, which allows a free-to-play player who has not even connected their wallet to download and install Metalcore and then scavenge and craft components to create that same sniper that they would have been able to buy out on the open marketplace. So we feel that this philosophy is very important, especially for reaching Web 2 gamers. I do know that in the Web 3 space, there is definitely, people don't like to talk about this, but there is a subset of Web 3 gamers that appreciate that forced utility of NFTs and almost forego that pay to win angle by saying, look, we're playing a PvP game. Trading assets on the marketplace is also a PvP game. This is just another kind of PvP game. And I'm buying this, I'm fighting with this. If you want to beat me, be good at the game or buy this too. That brings extreme utility to NFTs, but it's never going to exit the Web3 space. It's always going to stay a small committed player base. So we use Immutable's tech to be more accessible to Web 2 gamers. And the way we do that is that Immutable structure allows gamers to, transact with micro penny fees and at a very high throughput, which is very important because in the earlier years of Web3 gaming, I've been in the space in general since 2017, and I've been in Web3 gaming since 2021. I've played games that cost hundreds of dollars just to transfer stuff. I've played games that cost hundreds of dollars just to execute a purchase on OpenSea. And when you need to have a lot of different assets just for one account, it adds up. I've played games where I've had to spend $7,000 on just fees, not even the stuff I'm buying. So it's just not something that's feasible. It's not something that's going to work. So you need to work with tech that puts the user first. And that is going to lead to the adoption that helps everybody succeed and everybody win. And, we've seen this in the rise of the internet itself, like with tech companies, it's like grow first, monetize later. So, in the early days of Web3, it was like, look, we need to award all the miners, we need to award all the validators, keep fees high, but it's not going to grow. It's not going to take over the existing establishment that way. So we saw a very clear path to success with Immutable due to these properties that their tech had, and they're partnering with Polygon on this ZK EVM tech. And we've been very happy with the results.
Thank you so much for that. I think I'm going to quote you often with the whole work with tech that puts the users first. I think that was very beautiful. So thank you for that. Okay, now we have a question for everyone. How about RB, you start answering it. I'm going to ask you guys to use your imagination a little here. So imagine you're a Web 2 gamer just discovering Web3 gaming for the first time. Putting aside what you already know, what are some of your observations as an outsider about Web3 gaming, both positive and negative?
Let's probably begin with the negative, I guess.
the main thing I see is that if I'm an outsider, would be that there were a lot of promises that Web3 games made, some big names, and they didn't actually deliver on them during the time that those promises were being made. So that's definitely a huge blow to the Web3 gaming space, and we're seeing the downward spiral in the Web3 gaming space because of that. But a positive thing as an outsider would be seeing that some big names like Metalcore, Arcadia, and all these other games, they're starting to actually bring quality to the Web3 gaming ecosystem. So we're trying to see a lot more games pop off. A lot of games actually delivering on the promises. A lot of dev time has been spent in the last few years to actually deliver good quality over quantity. And yeah, so it's definitely looking really. We're actually at an inflection point where Web3 gaming will become more lucrative to Web2 gamers, and it will be seen as the way forward. Because initially there was no value proposition when it was first introduced, but now we see why Web3 gaming is needed to actually for gamers to make the jump.
I think one of the biggest observations that I would have as an outsider is really just I would have the question is why do we need blockchain and why do we need NFTs? I feel like up to this point there really hasn't been quite enough education for people to really understand the benefits of true asset ownership and why we need to have things on blockchain to prevent game developers from just ripping everything out from under you and all that. So I think people really just haven't been totally educated yet on everything. So I think I think that would be a big help for the space in general. I think another observation that I would have, especially if I've been kind of loosely following things over the last couple of years, is that games are finally starting to look fun. I feel like over the last couple of years, at least the things that have actually been out in production and playable have been pixel style or they've just been pretty low fidelity type games. So now it's finally, I think, starting to look like there's starting to be some fun games that people are actually gonna want to start playing.
I guess just to add to what the lads are saying, I think one of the things that I've noticed, or even if I put myself in the shoes of new players who are just getting into Arcadia or just getting into any Web3 gaming in general, I think the biggest question that pops out in their heads usually is what the hell is a wallet? Specifically if I don't know anything to begin with, right? And we've seen this time again, at least in Arcadia, every time. Oh, there's a fire in the neighbor. Okay, well, every time we do events, so say for example, upcoming November and I think mid-November or third week of November, we are going to be in the YEG Southeast Asia Web3 Gaming Summit, which is going to happen in the Philippines. We'll have a booth there. We normally have tournament activations within Arcadia where they can play tournaments and potentially win prizes. And most of these are in crypto. And a lot of the foot traffic there is usually new players that don't know anything about Web3. And their initial question is how do I sign up with a wallet? What is a wallet? And why is it important into getting into Arcadia in general? And that's kind of where that level of education needs to be done a lot of times, because Web3 gaming has a very challenging kind of onboarding as opposed to how it is in Web2, where you can just basically sign up with your email or not even sign up at all and just play the game right off the bat. And so I think we need to really do a good job on the UI UX side of things and abstracting things away a little bit until people are more accustomed to how Web3 gaming operates versus how Web2 is, because we're always going to be compared to the current status quo experience, which is Web2 gaming. Hence, I think we have to sort of meet them in the middle somewhere, especially those that are new to the space.
Yeah, and I think I'll just add here real quick that when we have these talks about what utility Web3 brings to gaming, it's really easy to get caught up in just the boilerplate responses, which over the years traditional gamers have definitely come back with super valid arguments against those boilerplate responses. And I think that what people aren't necessarily talking about enough is the way that Web3 integrates vastly different communities in ways that Web2 gaming hasn't really done before. And it provides a certain portion of the ecosystem with a very specific, clear goal in the gaming space of that game. And I'll bring a specific example because like I'm speaking vaguely so far. So like when you're talking about games that are vast open world games where you play a role within that game. You know, I'm talking about things like EVE Online or GTA or World of Warcraft. You know, the developers are putting purpose into the game for players to fulfill. You know, like for example, you're a blacksmith in the game and players have to come to you so that you can like bang that sword and like give a +2 agility, right? But the developers could have just been like, oh, we don't need blacksmiths, just like put it in the code. Like if you get level 5, you get +2 agility on your sword, right? But that's kind of the point, is like the developers are creating a world where people have purpose. And when you take, you know, different cultures, like for example, like US, Europe, and then merge that with the like Southeast Asia culture, I think that Web3 has been very successful in merging those two cultures and then giving everybody in those two cultures specific roles. You might have, for example, an entire guild in the Philippines who manufactures in-game assets and puts them on the marketplace. And we were actually partnered with one of them. They're called Breeder DAO. We're also partnered with YGG SEA, many other gaming guilds. And it's just really cool and interesting to see how different people are engaging in that Web3 gaming ecosystem in new and different ways that I haven't seen in other games. Like, I think that, you know, when I go to some Los Angeles conference and we're all talking about gaming and there's skeptics there, they're skeptical because of the culture they're in and the opportunities they have. And the Philippines is actually one of the fastest growing economies in the world right now, and they're industrializing very quickly. They're really getting onto that global stage, and they're very much opportunity seekers and opportunity appreciators. Like, I've made more friends in the Philippines in the last 5 years working in blockchain tech than I've ever known in my entire life. I'm married to a Filipina right now. So like just having those cultures just merge from around the world in Web3, it's something that's never been done, and it might not have necessarily like a quantitative value to it. Of course, the marketplaces are going to dictate that in terms of like dollars or in-game assets prices going up or whatever it is. But there's a lot of qualitative value in that and just bringing us all together. So it's something I really appreciate about the space.
Mariano, I see you have your hand up. If you want to participate in the question.
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to add, one of the main things that concern Web2 gamers is actually the quality of the game. They don't care about anything else, right? The economy part comes later for them. So if you add a good quality game, and then on top of that, you add the economic part that the player can win prizes and things like that. For example, Counter-Strike is a good example of this. That has a secondary market for monetization, right? Things like that add to Web3, and you have a killer game, right? And this is what we are missing: a good killer game in the market that kick off the entire Web3 gaming industry.
Thank you so much for those responses. I think that oh, Spencer, do you want to add anything to it?
No, I'm good.
No? Okay. Well, I think that all those responses were completely on point. I definitely think that as someone that had never been a gamer before, just like ever in the Web2 space, coming into the Web3 space and seeing how the community engagement has been completely different, and just also all the different projects that have been creating makes me even more like enthusiastic to learn how to game and be a gamer in itself. So I think that many things were said that are absolutely true. And now we have one last question. How about Mariano? You start answering it. So the question is, what has been one of your favorite moments in Web3 recently, either personally or in the news?
Sorry, did you say Web 2 or Web 3?
Web3.
Oh, well, the launch of Star Atlas, or the beta of Star Atlas has been one of the huge big moments that brings kind of some similar experience from Web 2 into Web 3. We can compare Star Atlas from this other game, Star Citizen. They are pretty much the same, but one is on Web 3 and another is on Web 2, right? So I think that's one of my favorite moments in the last few years.
For me personally, I was at New York Comic Con a few weeks ago, which was a really cool experience. The podcast I work with, Comics and Crypto, we get press badges generally for the cons, and one of the big Web3 projects that was there is the VB project. VB, they do a lot of work with a lot of the big licensed collectible brands like Disney and Marvel and DC Comics and a lot of those. But they shared a booth with Marvel, which we've done a couple times before on Comic Cons. But really cool to see a Web3 company, and I will say they are more Web 2.5, just based on how they kind of have a little bit of a closed ecosystem, but still use NFTs. But really cool though to see kind of non-Web3 people engage with the VB community, and basically see them like collaborate up on stage with Marvel, and do like live drops on stage for people who are there at the Comic-Con, and seeing people get really excited about claiming their first ever NFT, like digital comic NFT or things like that. And also, they partnered with Funko for like a huge party where there was all these like big licensors there. So it was just a really cool experience to see a Web3 company being taken so seriously. By these really well-known brands, and also being really well received as well by non-Web3 people as well.
Thank
Yeah, I
you.
think it's awesome that you brought that up, actually. And I definitely mirror that as one of my favorite moments in Web3 because, it's it might seem a tad disingenuous to like name drop my own game I'm working for to talk about my favorite moment, but I'll do it anyway. Like we were at Comic-Con in San Diego, and we had an entire room of computers, like full of iBuyPower PCs, 20 of them, with a stage, with announcers, and everybody was playing metalcore all day, every day for the duration of the show. And just to see, parents and their kids both having fun playing the same game, and that game happens to be a Web3 game, was something that really opened my eyes to the future that's coming for this space. And it's something that was very difficult to imagine only 2 years ago across the entire space. Like you wouldn't be able to walk up to somebody and be like, you and your dad are going to bond over, this Web3 game that took a week to make, and they're just like dropping a bunch of NFTs, and there you go. Now, as we've heard earlier in this talk, like the quality is there, the fun is there, and to see just regular people that want to have fun playing a video game succeeding in that mission in a Web3 game was very cool to see.
Yeah, same
For
on my side as
me,
well.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry about that. No, I was just saying that. I've been playing some Web3 games myself, but I've also been sharing them with some Web2 gamer friends, and they're quite enjoying it. One of my friends, he loves trading card games, and he's been enjoying a lot of Web3 based trading card games, which is really fun to see because like 2-3 years ago, it was definitely really hard to actually find a good game that you could play in the Web3 space. So yeah.
Yeah. I was about to say like it's really good kind of like favorites and insights in terms of like what you guys found really impactful over the last couple of months and years. For me, I would say it's a little bit more something on the background, something that we're like what Metalcore said, like I don't want to toot my own horn, but we've been a very huge proponent of ERC 6551, and when we were at Ethereum Global in New York, we held this event called NPC Day, Essentially, what it is like how we're trying to reimagine NFTs to become more evolved, to become smarter, to add AI as part of something programmable within the NFTs, for these NFTs to hold other assets, for these NFTs to hold other NFTs within it. And I think we're seeing a lot of progress on the builder side of things to really push for the standard, so that everybody else in the space, and specifically gaming, could really utilize what's new with this current standard. We're holding another NPC day happening in DevCon in Istanbul. So I'm really excited because a lot of builders are really trying to create multiple applications and use cases of the NFT that could potentially one day trickle into the Web3 gaming space. So that's really what I'm excited about. And I'm really looking forward to having you guys at some point in the future adopt standard, because there's so many more use cases around it, as opposed to what it is right now with ERC 721. So that's kind of like what I'm excited about.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm also very excited for the new token standard. One of the projects, I believe it's Broadside. I'm pretty sure that they're going to be building stuff on it very soon. I've spoken to Matt Mason, who's the founder of that, about it. He's really, really excited about what the technology brings, and just kind of how it can revolutionize the way that we're currently doing things. So yeah, I love that.
I love this question so much. And I am going to shamelessly just talk about the Satoshiverse community, because I think it is literally my favorite thing every single day of the Web3 space. Yeah, to me, they just mean the world, and especially coming into the Web3 space, not knowing anything about anything, not even a wallet, or just not knowing how to even like walk in a video game, seeing how they have been so encouraging every day, and how every day they like ask me like, oh, did you play the game today? Or they teach me new things, just how the community teaches itself constantly to be better, to improve, to keep playing, how they give so much feedback, how they're so engaged. I think that as a community manager and just as a person makes my whole day. Also just the weird conversations that we constantly have on that Discord, it is the best thing ever. Sometimes I just like keep thinking about it like all day. So I love that question, because I think it reminds us that this Web3 space is so amazing, and everything that we're building is so beautiful, and the relationships that we're creating and how it is advancing so fast, and we're part of like a really amazing thing. So now I am going to announce the giveaway winner. One of my favorite parts. So today we're giving away an APMO Army NFT collectible trading card, rare. And the winner is, drum rolls please, sound effects. Coupon Pirate 1. So if you could send us a DM with your ETH address, please do, and we will send it right away.
Awesome. Congratulations to our winner. Yeah, so this has been an incredible space. We're going to wrap things up now because we're coming towards the end of the hour. I just want to say thank you so much to all of our guests for joining us today. Everyone who's here is all building incredible things in the Web3 space. Please make sure to give all of them a follow. Pay attention to everything that they're building. Really excited to continue building the relationships with each of you and potentially collaborate. Here at the Satoshiverse, we definitely believe that rising tides lift all ships, and we love to get involved with other projects and what they're building. Just a quick reminder, the Satoshiverse, Satoshi Legions game is in testnet alpha and is currently open for everyone to play. You can visit our website to download the game on PC and check it out. You do not currently need an NFT to play. And then if you check the pinned tweet at the top, you'll see some of the prizes that are available right now for you to play the game and win. But yeah, so thank you so much for everyone for joining. We'll close it out now, but I just want to give everyone a chance who's up here right now to give us some closing words, and then we will close out the space. So go ahead, and if you have anything to say, feel free to.
Yeah, I guess I'll quickly go first. So yeah, I guess like on behalf of everyone, thank you so much for having us here, or for having me here at the very least. If anyone wants to talk shop